in the cosmos of a world of jewelry, subjects are as various and diverse as the galaxies that gravitate together in the jewelry planetary system that GemGenève has built. GemGenève, which has become a cultural event, offers to their exhibitors and visitors a wide range of topics around jewelry and provide their knowledge on current affairs. I've joined them all together in one universe, the 7th season of the jewellery-themed podcast Il était une fois le bijou. In this episode, I invite you to explore a new nebula, that of the mysterious Opal, with Jürgen Schütz, Managing Director of Emil Weiss Opals. Hello, Jürgen.
Hello, Anne.
How are you?
I'm fine, always.
You are the specialist on Opal, so let's speak about Opal.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Why this gem fascinates you?
That's very easy to explain. You have a red ruby, you have a blue sapphire, you have a green emerald, but you have only one stone in the world who can have all the colors in one stone. So that's really a fascinating part. And no opal is like the others. So it's really like human beings. You never find the same, even twins are not the same. And it's the same with opal. You never find two opals the same. Is it not fascinating?
It's fascinating me, but I prefer the orange, the fire opal. And you?
So you're a one-colored lady. I'm a multicolored guy, so I like the opal.
You know, Jürgen, I admit, you are right.
Oh, that's very rare that you can prove a lady that she's wrong.
I agree, it is a mesmerizing gem. I was not aware that bolder opals were considered precious. Can you tell me more about them?
Yeah, I personally like boulder very much because it has the same colors than black opal, but it only costs a fraction of the price. And the designers like it too because even an inexpensive stone has character. Even if you have a black opal, a cheap black opal is cheap. It looks cheap. But if you have a cheap boulder, it has character and you can make really something special out of it. That's a stone the designer, I would say, like most in the world.
And for the listener, can you explain the characteristic about opal?
You have the common opal and the precious opal. In France, I call it noble opal, but it's the same like precious opal. The precious opal has play of color. The common opal doesn't have. But it does not mean that it is not beautiful. I think I remember the pink opal, which is very much in fashion now. It has no play of color, but it's still a beautiful stone.
There are many legends about opals, like they can contain ghosts inside, and even rumor that opals bring bad luck. What are your thoughts on this?
I know I'm collecting opal books, and I'm chasing really the story when it starts that opal is a so-called bad luck stone. But in my opinion, I have one example out of our family. When we have World War II, parents had to send their kids to war. And our founder of the company, he had 7 kids, and all survived the war. So opal cannot be bad luck.
The legends say when you put opal in water, she loses all their fire. Is that exact?
No, that is not right. I do not know. Basically, opal loves water, except Ethiopian opal. So basically, you talk about Ethiopian opal. Ethiopian opal is a miracle of nature because if you put it in water or any liquid, the play of color disappears. It's unique in the opal world, and don't ask me why, because nobody knows yet. But all the other opals from all over the world love moisture, love water. So it's only about Ethiopian opal you talk. That's one of the reasons why we never touched Ethiopian opal. I bought some rough material, we tested it, and found out too many problems, so we never sold it.
There are several different types of opals: black, white, fire, boulder. What is your favorite?
All the colors. The most rare and the most expensive stone is what they call the 7-color stone. So if you have an opal with all the 7 colors or major colors in one stone, it's basically priceless. A different opal comes from different areas. You have basically 4 major opals coming from Australia. Then you have 2 or 3 coming from Mexico. You have this, what already mentioned, the Ethiopian opal. And you have at least 50, 60 countries in the world having opal. Not always precious opal, but some really interesting opal.
What kind of opals come from Mexico?
In Mexico coming, you have basically the water opal, which is clear like glass, but with all the play of color. Then you have the fire opal, which is all the orange tones up to red. And you have the no play of color, which is clear enough for faceting. And you have a Mexican boulder opal.
I was under the impression that fire opals had a milky characteristic. But when I saw on your stand a beautiful necklace with transparent faceted fire opal that ranged from bright red to orange, I was blown away.
Yeah, okay, that is because you never had been interested in opal, so you never informed yourself. But the Mexican opal is made by volcanoes, so you can really feel the power of the volcanoes in the opal. And it's a little bit a miracle of the nature. We are a little bit lucky with our mine because we produce a lot of clear material. Other mines produce more cloudy material, but in this case we are really extremely lucky, and we find a lot of red stones.
To have enough stones to make a necklace, so they are perfectly matched in color, must be very difficult and take several years to obtain. How was this process for you?
Yeah, you need to collect a lot of material before you can match the color. I think especially when it comes to one color, you really need collect rough, and one day you decided you cut a necklace and then you make the necklace.
I saw harlequin opal.
I do not believe that it was a harlequin, because harlequin is a word everybody uses. But in my 50 years I have seen one true harlequin, and a lot of people call harlequin which is far away from a harlequin. I can show you 10 stones which are close to harlequin, but I never would tell you that's a harlequin.
What do you consider a real harlequin?
You can see yourself. A real harlequin has really color patches, separated color patches, like a palette of a painter. But if it's wishy-washy, it's no harlequin.
I saw in your collection something amusing that I was not familiar with, which is a pineapple opal.
Pineapple is something special. I remember when I was first time, and the only place you find is White Cliffs. I remember when I was first time in White Cliffs, of course I was young, it was my first trip to Australia, and I was reading a lot about the pineapples. So I said, okay, I go and try to chase a pineapple. And then I went to the pub and said, look guys, I'm looking for a pineapple. And he said, oh, come tomorrow, I give you one. I said, oh, great. So I went next morning, I went to the guy, he opened the fridge and gave me a pineapple. He teasing me.
Is it rare?
Extremely rare. Yeah, it's extremely rare. It's a miracle of the nature, and it doesn't matter how much money you offer me. If I don't want to sell it, I cannot replace another one. It's basically not existing. I was lucky that on all my trips I found a few pieces, but it's nothing what you can say it's existing.
Pineapple I saw in your collection is big like an orange.
Yeah.
Is it usual? Is it raw?
Oh, it can be small, it can be double big. The biggest I saw was like a little kid's head.
What would be the price?
Oh, he asked, I think, $1 million or more. It was too expensive for me, so I couldn't buy it.
And the pineapple like an orange?
A secret.
In the collection, I noticed a nice brooch with blue opals in the shape of butterfly.
The butterfly is moving if you wear it, yeah. It's not easy to make because you need matching stones, which is very difficult to collect. But if we cannot, nobody can.
Can you describe this piece?
The wings move. And it took us quite a couple of years before we had been able to let the wings move. And we make it now, I think, in 3 or 4 different sizes. And it's really great. If you wear it and start walking, the butterfly moves and want to fly away.
So the butterfly is part of your jewelry creation. When did you make these pieces? Do you plan to make more butterfly brooches?
First one we made about maybe 6 years ago. We make a smaller one and a bigger one. Oh, if I sell it, we make another one.
What type of jewelry is best to set opals?
At the moment, it's the best-selling jewelry are earrings. Amazingly, they are earrings, followed by the rings, and then the pendants.
Can you reveal a secret about opals?
A secret. Opal is full of secrets. I compare Opal always with women. Women are always full of secrets, same with Opal. You unlock one and you find 5 more. Okay, I talk about the stories about mining. Opal is really very difficult to find. And I remember when I came first time to Cooperpedy, as I said, I was naive at that time. I went to the pub and there was an old chap standing next to me. And I said, hey, tell me how we can find opal. He said, my boy, it's very easy. You go to the field, throw your hat, and where it drops down, you start digging. I said, oh, very easy. But in the years coming, I learned that he wanted to tell me nobody knows. You have to try it. If you're lucky, you find it. If not, you don't find it. And you can miss it for 2 or 3 centimeters. I was in Cooperpedy Christmas time, and 2 young guys came in. And you could see that no opal miner, you could see them, the hippies from far away. And I said, hey guys, and they had a beautiful parcel. Hey guys, how did you come to this opal? He said, we come from Adelaide, we're making holiday in Cooperpedy, and we want to have some drinks and some smoke in the mine. So we went down in an old mine and started scratching. And they found a pocket, I think it was 600,000. And he said, but how could you find this? You had no tools, nothing. He said, we had a screwdriver, and the guy missed it for 3 centimeters. Unfortunately, I found out that we had been these guys.
This is a family business. Can you tell me about the history of the company?
Our company is 120 years old, and we started, or the man who founded the company, he started basically as an apprentice in Ida Oberstein. He was learning cutting. And then the first opal came from Australia, at that time from White Cliffs, with the sailing ships to Amsterdam, and from Amsterdam to Ida Oberstein, which was the only cutting center in the world at the time. There was no Jaipur, there was no Bangkok, there was no India. And and the stories say, if you hold the first time an opal in his hand, he said, this is my stone. So he addicted basically his whole life to the opal. And now we are in the 4th generation.
What are your plans for the future of the company?
My plans are, I like to find as much opal as possible, and I try to find as many customers which like opal, like me, as many as possible.
What type of opal would you recommend for me?
Opal is something what you decide. You need self-confidence to buy opal. Sometimes I see people, what would you buy? Opal you must buy yourself, because every person has a different color feeling. You would choose different colors. You would choose different colors. So only you can find the opal you like. I can tell you this is the most expensive one, or this is, but the opal you like, only you can choose. You make a nice talk about opals, and that many, many people will enjoy what we enjoy. And as I said, I'm born into gemstones. From my history, I'm born in Ida Oberstein. My father was cutting, my grandfather was cutting. As a kid, they say, I only was interested in gemstones, not in toys. Toys for me are boring. So I always was interested in gemstones. But for me, opal is really the queen of gemstones. Because there's only one stone who can have all the colors, and you never find the same again.
Okay. So thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you for listening. I'm Anne Desmarest de Jotemps, and I give a voice to jewelry every Sunday. And if you want to give a voice to your jewelry and brand, I would be delighted to help you create your own dedicated podcast or welcome you as a partner in my native podcast. I would appreciate your support. If you enjoy the podcast, please encourage me with a like, a rating or comment on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and please share it on your social media. See you next month on this podcast, and in the meantime, on the Le Bijou comme un bisou podcast, alternating with Brillante podcast. Stay tuned to the next GemGenève Univers.